The tax reform, which the country needs in line with the highly successful policies of President Luis Abinader, as economists believe, has been long overdue. Today, the majority of the population of the Dominican Republic unequivocally supports the president's policies. Luis Abinader became president of the Dominican Republic in the challenging year of 2020, and in just 4 years under his leadership, the country has made a tremendous leap forward. In 2024, he was re-elected for a second term. Today, the country enjoys a stable financial situation. Inflation, which spiked in the post-pandemic period, as it did in most countries, has completely returned to normal. The Dominican economy is the fastest growing among all Latin American countries. The poverty rate has sharply decreased in recent years. A vast middle class, crucial for the economy, has emerged in the country. Tourist arrivals have increased by nearly a third over the past 3 years. Airports have been renovated, a major port is under construction, hundreds of kilometers of modern roads have already been built, and the pace of construction is not slowing down. The infrastructure necessary for a comfortable life is being developed at a tremendous pace. The Dominican Republic's international credit rating is BB+, which corresponds to a stable, rapidly developing economy. This growth is driven by sectors such as construction, manufacturing, tourism, and mining. The Dominican Republic is home to the world's third largest gold mine by output, the Pueblo Viejo mine. In addition, the Dominican Republic is the most visited country by tourists in the Caribbean region. It is expected that in 2024, the country will welcome 11 million tourists, which is 10% more than the previous year. Against the backdrop of such rapid economic growth, a long overdue tax reform has become an urgent necessity, and today the reform project is under discussion by the government. In the next 2 months, the project will be reviewed and refined, and the new tax code will come into effect on January 25th of next year. The project provides for what the government considers a fairer tax collection system, a progressive tax scale as in most developed countries, and the allocation of collected taxes in accordance with new realities and the country's development plan for the coming years. The draft law is quite extensive, and today I will not be covering all of its points. I want to focus only on what may change in tax legislation regarding real estate. For the secondary real estate market, no changes are provided for in the draft law. But for new buildings, there will definitely be changes, and today experts are only debating what exactly will be changed. As of today, most newly constructed buildings fall under the Confotur law, which specifically allows buyers of new construction to completely avoid paying the land transfer tax, and additionally grants a significant 15-year exemption from the annual property tax after the construction process is fully completed. Most likely, the recently revised government bill will either completely abolish or partially repeal the Confotur law. However, most experts believe that Confotur will remain, but in a much more limited form. For example, new constructions may be subject to the land transfer tax, but instead of 3% as on the secondary market, it might be set at 1 or 1.5%. And the exemption from annual property taxes will remain, but instead of lasting 15 years, it will be for 5 or 7 years. For now, all we can do is speculate about what form this law will ultimately take. Confotur was originally introduced specifically to stimulate the purchase of new constructions. The government was interested in the rapid development of the construction industry, and the measures they implemented clearly worked. However, I don't think Confotur played a particularly significant role in this. In my opinion, the main factor was that major developers entered the Dominican Republic's construction market, sensing the rapidly growing demand, and began building super luxury projects. And of course, the demand for real estate in the Dominican Republic has multiplied several times over in recent years. The income from short-term rentals here is currently very high, and not counting the appreciation of property values, ranges from 8 to 13% per year. Additionally, property prices in the eastern part of the Dominican Republic are currently increasing at a rate of more than 10% annually. Naturally, such real estate is a highly attractive opportunity for investors today. In addition, real estate here is eagerly purchased by those who want to spend several comfortable months a year here while earning rental income during the rest of the time, and of course retirees. Today, the Dominican Republic has replaced Florida and become the #1 choice for American and Canadian retirees. So I don't think that even a complete cancellation of Confotur would reduce demand. If we're talking about real estate worth $300,000, the annual tax is only $1,200 per year, and the land transfer tax is $9,000. So if Confotur is completely cancelled, when registering the transaction after construction is finished for a $300,000 apartment, you would have to pay $9,000 in land transfer tax plus $1,200 annually. This is unlikely to change anything. However, an increase in the profit tax for developers, if that happens, could have a much more significant impact on real estate prices. Currently, developers pay 27% of their profits to the state in taxes, but as experts say, an increase in corporate taxation is unlikely to be expected. The president of the Dominican Republic, Luis Abinader, is himself a former businessman and owner of a large construction company, and all previous actions taken by his team have been aimed at creating ideal conditions for corporations that generate a large number of new jobs in the country and attract foreign capital. So most likely, there will be no increase in taxes for developers. But as for what form Confotur will take, or whether it will remain at all, we will find out in the coming month. But regardless of how things turn out, real estate prices in the Dominican Republic are already rising so quickly that if you're interested in buying, I wouldn't recommend waiting too long. Tomorrow, you'll have to buy at a higher price. See you next time on the channel.